Hello and welcome to How to Build a Persona, a series where I take any character, persona, demons, archetypes, whatever it is, and build them according to their overall theme, characteristics, and uniqueness. So, Persona 3 Reload. It's been somewhat of a rising topic in preparation for its release this October. Well, to commemorate that, I'd figured to dust off my personal copy of Persona 3 Reload and build an iconic persona from Persona 3 Reload. Because I have made an Orpheus build before, let's take the next iconic persona in this game entry, Thanatos, the god of death himself. To be honest, the release on the Switch 2 isn't the only thing that makes me want to go back to Persona 3 Reload for a new entry to this series. There's actually one more driving factor into this, and it's the sponsor of this video. This video is sponsored by First 4 Figures. Introducing FiGGYZ. FiGGYZ is back with brand new sets. FiGGYZ is a new product lineup by First 4 Figures on a new style of collectible figures that aim to be affordable, compact, and modular. FiGGYZ features a unique pixel art style figure and mag mount system that can be customized however you like and placed wherever you want. Place them on your desk? You got it. Stick them on your fridge? No problem. How about on the wall? Definitely possible with the included 3M magnet. FiGGYZ includes a metal background artwork piece that is reversible, displaying whichever background artwork you like. There is a rare chance to get a hidden chase background included in your FiGGYZ as well, featuring bronze, silver, and even gold-plated backgrounds for your FiGGYZ, somewhat like a prestige collection. Chances are really low for these hidden backgrounds, but with the background and the FiGGYZ being modular, you can trade them with fellow FiGGYZ collectors. In fact, FiGGYZ has a dedicated collector app to help with your collection. There's a QR code in the back of each FiGGYZ to register and track your growing collection. You can use them to see which series you have missing, see their edition, and their serial number for ease of collection. FiGGYZ released a brand new set for Persona 3 Reload, featuring the protagonist of Persona 3 Reload, alongside his starter party members Yukari Takeba and Junpei Iori. With their respective tarot cards as background, this wave of FiGGYZ looks really cool. But if Persona 3 Reload isn't to your liking, FiGGYZ also made other franchise lineups as well, including, but not limited to, Sonic the Hedgehog, Frieren, Mega Man X, Metal Gear Solid, Street Fighter, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Cowboy Bebop, Banjo-Kazooie, and franchises that are very close to my heart, Persona 5, Metaphor Fantasio, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. So, if FiGGYZ looks interesting to you, check them out at figgyz.com and use my coupon code IZANAGI at checkout, or use the link in the description down below to get a 5% discount on orders above $50. Again, use coupon code IZANAGI at figgyz.com or use the link in the description below to get a 5% discount on orders above $50. Thank you again to First 4 Figures for sponsoring this video. Right, let's jump right into analyzing Thanatos. So, Persona 3 as an entry to the Persona series is unique. It's the first entry to the modern Persona trilogy, where it is the start of Persona being directed to new gameplay systems with the day-to-day school life and social link mechanics, where these systems also improves the other half of the gameplay, the dungeon crawling, turn-based RPG style of gameplay. As the iconic breakthrough to the new formula, Persona 3 had 4 different versions. I'm not gonna argue which one is the definitive version of Persona 3, but this means there are definitely different versions of Thanatos as well. So, for this video's analysis on Thanatos, I will be looking at all of the different versions of Thanatos across the Persona games that has Thanatos. That includes Persona 3 the original, Persona 3 Fast, both the Journey and the Answer, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 3 Reload, and even Persona 5 and Royal, because don't forget, he's in Persona 5 as DLC. So, where to start? Maybe isolating the similar aspects from the multiple versions of Thanatos is best. So obviously, being the god of death, Thanatos has the largest affinity towards dark or curse, having reflect resistance against dark attacks, while being weak to light or bless. Thanatos' stats reflects a heavy offensive playstyle with both high strength and magic, with some points skewing to magic. Thanatos also has either 1 or 2 physical-based skills that are exclusively single target and dealing slash damage. Well, for some reason excluding Persona 5's Thanatos, which opt to one-shot kill, which is a gun damage skill, which translates to Pierce in Persona 3. I don't know why they did that. Thanatos clearly had a sword, so I'm gonna count this as a quirky exception. Thanatos also has some survival passive skills, usually in the form of Enduring Soul, and that Thanatos also gain access to an almighty attack, which varies if it would be Megiddola or Megiddolaun. Older games have Megiddola, while Reload has Megiddolaun. Oh, and Persona 5 has Door of Hades, but well, they just wanted to have a unique skill, so yeah, it still counts as almighty. And that leads us to the differences between these Thanatos, and I have to say, this gets weird. When I heard of Thanatos, my gut reaction would be that, oh yeah, this persona should have the highest level of dark skills. To my surprise, Thanatos used to not have dark skills in their kit. It's not only their introduction in Persona 5 as DLC persona that Thanatos gets dark skills with Maegaon and Mamudon, which is transferred to Persona 3 Reload. Persona 3's Thanatos does not have any traditional elemental magic skills. The only magic skill it has is Megiddola. Persona 3 Fast and Portable's Thanatos also had Megiddola, but accompanying that is Mahamaon, a light elemental skill. For the God of Death, I mean, it works, as Hama also insta-kills enemies, but no dark counterpart is kinda nuts. It goes even weirder when Aegis Thanatos in the answer had Maragidyne as well, alongside the Megiddola and Mahamaon that the previous Thanatos had, making the magic skill situation much more weirder. But I guess this has to consider that you are sacrificing dark-based persona for the fusion of Thanatos so that you can inherit dark magic skills to Thanatos already. So the different affinity magic skills have to come from the variety of choices that you can get for Thanatos. And yeah, I guess that makes sense. I'm inclined to think that this is just a byproduct of the old inherit system where skill inherits are completely random, with some affinities towards a certain element. But nevertheless, with how much of a train wreck of magic skill choices for Thanatos, just because of the older games, I am going to embrace the new version of Thanatos that focuses on dark magic skills instead. Because, well, it makes sense as the God of Death to have dark magic skills instead. Furthermore, there's one more connecting tissue that I left out before, which is Ghastly Wail. This is such an interesting skill to insta-kill enemies if they are feared, which is not a completely unique skill to Thanatos. Connecting it to a source of fear ailment like Evil Smile, it's an effective strategy to clear out encounters. That is, if you have a source of fear ailment. That's right, after Persona 3 Vanilla, Thanatos for some reason loses any source of fear altogether, even though Thanatos had one before in Persona 3 Vanilla, but Ghastly Wail is present across all versions of Thanatos, excluding Persona 5. I don't know about you, I think this is a weird decision to make, especially when ailment skills in general had less inherent affinity than Dark did. I don't know, it's probably the same reason as the variety argument from the Dark skill predicament, as Mod had Evil Smile to inherit, and Mod is one of the ingredients for Thanatos. So, that is Thanatos. Compiling them all up, Thanatos is an offense-based persona, boasting great strength and magic, with magic being the highest stat, have access to multiple magic skills in different elements, but mainly almighty and dark, with his great dark affinity, have high rank single target physical attacks, some insta-kills like Mahamaon, Mamudon, and even Ghastly Wail, while having a great survival passive skill with Enduring Soul. In Persona 3 Reload, Thanatos has all of those characteristics, filling up to 7 already endgame skills in their kit. Honestly, with one more slot of any flexible skill, this video shouldn't have been a video to begin with. But hey, I'm gonna make it a video anyway, so as a solution, I'm going to suggest multiple variants of Thanatos' build, with the first one being the most general build and follows Thanatos' theme the most. So, because 7 of Thanatos' innate skill is already up to Thanatos' theme, and that these skills are already on the highest rank already, unfortunately, we can't really set any leeway for the general Thanatos build. The most plausible way to improve on this is to get Evil Smile as a source of fear ailment to synergize with Ghastly Wail, because keep in mind that the only other character that had any source of fear ailment is Mitsuru with Fatal End, which would be replaced for other better skills in the long run anyway, so no one has any source of fear ailment. You can get Evil Smile from Inheritance from Mod as the ingredient for Thanatos, or from skill cards level 8 from Shuffle Time. So yeah, that's it. This Thanatos retains his dark skills, Maegaon and Mamudon, alongside Dark Amp, his almighty skill with Megiddolaun, his single target physical skill with Brave Blade, Enduring Soul, and a working Ghastly Wail, paired with Evil Smile. I think it's worthy of a mention that this version of Thanatos is only good for normal dungeon runs against encounters, plus maybe some boss fights against multiple bosses. Because you'll have no amplification skills like buffing skills, you just have multiple ways to deal with normal enemies, with dark attacks, almighty attacks, or insta-kill attacks. Maybe Brave Blade is great for bosses, since physical attacks are just straight up better in this game, but yeah, that's about it. Okay then, the video's over. Okay, I'm joking. So, because of how short it is, let's build more versions of Thanatos with more of a focus on some specialization. The first one that I want to focus on is the specialization on dark skills. Dark is the main affinity of Thanatos, and with innate Maegon and Mamudon, we can only get more skills that complement those dark skills, as they are the bread and butter for this version of Thanatos. Thanatos having high magic stat as well, focusing on a Maegon build is also a great way to build a persona. This build is verifiable for most situations, as long as the enemies doesn't have any resistances against dark. So, for the skills to be capped, Maegon is obviously capped, as it is the primary offensive skill, Mamudon as the insta-kill alternative, which is a dark element as well, and Dark Amp to greatly amplify Maegon's damage. Beyond the capped skills, here are some of the skills that I would recommend to get for this dark focus build. Dark Boost is a great passive skill to further amplify Maegon's damage, as it would stack with Dark Amp. However, there's no direct way to get Dark Boost other than getting it from skill cards like a skill card level 5 from Shuffle Time. Then, Mudo Boost is a good skill to increase the chance of insta-kill for Mamudon, which will translate super well in normal encounters where enemies don't resist dark. Loa, Moth, and Alice have Mudo Boost, so you can inherit Mudo Boost from Thanatos' special fusion, requiring them. But just in case you didn't inherit that, you can get Mudo Boost from skill cards level 4 from Shuffle Time. One more skill that I think is noticeable enough to mention is Multi-Target Boost. Because Thanatos' magic skills are multi-target, Multi-Target Boost is a great passive skill to amplify those magic skills even further. You can get Multi-Target Boost from skill card level 7 from Shuffle Time. Those skills count to 6 slots, which means you have 2 more slots to consider. For these 2 slots, I can only suggest some flexible options to consider, as they are not as important as the previous 6 skills. Starting with Enduring Soul. I purposefully left it out of the capped skills section because Enduring Soul did not really complement the overall theme of the build. It's just a great addition for extra survivability. However, it does go in line with Thanatos' history of always having it, so it is still worthy of a mention. Next, Concentrate is a great skill to further amplify Maegon's damage, as it amplifies by 2.3 times, more than doubling the damage dealt. Concentrate is always great for a magic-based persona, so it definitely deserves a spot. But one argument can be made that you can just cast Concentrate on other persona first. But again, it still deserves a mention. Unfortunately, none of the ingredients for Thanatos innately had Concentrate. The most far-fetched way to get Concentrate from inheritance is from Titania, being fused to Alice, and then inherit to Thanatos. But if you didn't want to inherit, Concentrate is from skill card level Queen from Shuffle Time too. Magic ability is worthy of a mention because it's a passive skill that further amplifies any magic damage skills. However, this skill is so exotic that only Messiah has it, and no skill cards have it. If you insist on getting it, you need to do multiple steps of fusion to get it on Thanatos, like for example, fuse Messiah with Lilim, gets Moth, which then Moth became one of the ingredients to fuse for Thanatos, inheriting magic ability to Thanatos. Spellmaster is an SP economy skill that helps you a lot if you focus on SP skills, which this version of Thanatos does. Cutting SP cost is always good for a Persona game, where you'll always be low on SP. Unfortunately again, no direct inherit path, so get Spellmaster from skill cards level King from Shuffle Time. But King level skill cards can only be obtained literally on the last day of the game, so as an alternative, here's an example for inheritance. Spellmaster is commonly known to be in Loki, so take Loki, then fuse with Valkyrie to get Samael, inheriting Spellmaster, and then Samael became an ingredient for Thanatos. Shift M is introduced in Persona 3 Reload as an extension to the shift mechanic that was directly ported from the Baton Pass mechanic from Persona 5. Because Persona 5's Baton Pass mechanic is super broken to the point that the balance of the game just went off a cliff, And that Persona 3 reload doesn't really get the benefits of shifting party members. Skills like Shift Am are part of this rework to get some kind of a reward to do the shifting mechanic, to get a dopamine hit of your persona dealing more damage after doing a shift. Not by a lot though, they don't want to have another Persona 5 balance problem again. But yeah, this skill is a boost in damage after you did a shift to DMC, which equips Thanatos. Keep in mind though that this won't work if you don't play direct command on party members, because party member AI doesn't put shifting into the equation, so you won't be able to get the effect of this. But if you play with direct command, this is a decent skill to boost more of Thanatos' damage. You can get this from inheritance, but there is a skill card of this skill in Twilight Chest around the first half of Haraba, which is the second final block of Tartarus. Just in case you want to get it from inheritance, here's an example. One of the quickest way to get it that I found is to fuse Kukuline with Inugami to become Loa, which is an ingredient for Thanatos. For the rest of the suggestions, you can get either Resist or Null Light to change up the light weakness that Thanatos had to cover it, so that you won't get one-shotted in unfortunate circumstances. You may argue that this goes against Thanatos' theme, and yeah, I guess you're right. You have the option to skip this. But in the gameplay perspective, this is just a helpful tool to stay alive, somewhat like Enduring Soul in a sense. Resist Light is from skill card level 8, while Null Light is from skill card level Jack from Shuffle Time. So this is an example of a dark focus Thanatos build, with Maegon and Mamudon as the bread and butter of this build, Dark Amp, Dark Boost, Mudo Boost, and Multi-Target Boost to greatly amplify the effectiveness of both Maegon and Mamudon, Enduring Soul for extra survivability, and Concentrate to greatly amplify Maegon even further. Again, you can switch out some of the skills with some of the suggestions if you want. This is just one of the example for a dark focus Thanatos build. For another iteration of Thanatos, one version that I would like to suggest is to sacrifice any Insta-kill skills, but keep any traditional damage dealing skills instead, be it Dark Element or Almighty Damage are kept. This build is what I like to call the Magic Damage Thanatos. This build is generally viable for anything, with its selling point to have a piercing resistance attack with Megidolon, while still being able to exploit weakness with Dark. Maegon and Megidolon are kept on Thanatos, as these skills are the main skills to use. Dark Amp is also being kept because it is basically packaged with Maegon at this point. And then, for the other skills that we seek to get, first would be Multi-Target Boost again, same as the previous build. In this build, Multi-Target Boost is more beneficial to get because it affects Megidolon as well. So get Multi-Target Boost from skill card level 7 from Shuffle Time. Then you'll have the option to get Almighty Boost and Magic Ability. However, due to their exotic nature, they're very hard to get, only present from high level personas. You have to inherit them through multiple fusion processes to get them through Thanatos. As an example, to get Magic Ability from Messiah, fuse Messiah with Lilim to get mod, inheriting Magic Ability, and then use that mod as the ingredient for Thanatos. For Almighty Boost, to get a different persona result so that you can inherit Almighty Boost alongside Magic Ability, you can fuse Hallel with Nekomata to get White Rider, and then White Rider with Legion to get Samael. Samael is used as an ingredient to fuse Thanatos. And then, just like previously, I will suggest some more skills as flexible options for the remaining slots available. Enduring Soul is still great for survivability, which is obtained by keeping it in Thanatos. Concentrate is still also a great skill to amplify both Maegon and Megidolon, more than double the damage. Spellmaster is also great in this build because of how expensive Megidolon can be. Cutting it by half really helps a lot with your SP economy. Shift Am is still great for Thanatos, as it can amplify both Maegon and Megidolon's damage after doing a shift to the main character. Just keep in mind to not get this if you don't play direct command on party members, because they don't put shifting mechanic into their AI behavior. Resist or Null Light is also a great passive skill to override Thanatos' weakness to light, instead to resist or to block light completely. And the final one, I've put aside this one last skill because of how difficult it is to get this one skill. Heck, I haven't even gotten this skill in any of my persona. This skill is Almighty Amp. Just like Dark Amp, it's a direct boost to Almighty damage skills that also stacks with Almighty Boost. So you can only get this through skill mutation, which is a mechanic that I am not really sure myself. Whenever you get an Almighty Amp in one of your persona, you can straight up inherit those to any persona that you fuse into. So I can't give you a direct example because I don't know which persona would have the Almighty Amp, as long as the end goal is to inherit Almighty Amp to Thanatos. So here's an example of the final build for magic damage build for Thanatos. This build has Maegon, Megidolaon, Dark Amp, Almighty Boost, Multi-Target Boost, Magic Ability, Enduring Soul, and Spellmaster. If you don't have the exotic skills gathered from endgame personas, let's say replace Magic Ability and Almighty Boost with Concentrate and Null Light, for example. You can switch out any skills that you don't like. Next iteration of Thanatos, straying away from Maegon, this iteration of Thanatos will focus on insta-kill skills. So if it's not obvious already, this iteration will not be viable for boss fights, as bosses can't usually be insta-killed. This build offers multiple ways to insta-kill a group of normal enemies, making clearing normal encounters much faster. For the skills to be kept from Thanatos, Mamudon and Ghastly Wail are the two insta-kill skills that Thanatos had and should be retained. For other skills to get, remember that in the old version of Persona 3, Thanatos had Mahamaon. Yeah, I think it's great to get Mahamaon for this build. It's another way to do an insta-kill move, especially good against enemies with resistance to dark, because they might be normal or even weak to light. Unfortunately, Thanatos had a bad inherent affinity with light, and I think you can't inherit any light skills to Thanatos. I don't know, I might be mistaken, but if that's the case, you can get Mahamaon to Thanatos by using skill cards, level 10, from Shuffle Time. Other than that, boosting both Mahamaon and Mamudon with both Hama Boost and Mudo Boost is a great addition to the build as well, as it increases the chance to hit the insta-kill attacks. If the calculations are right, the base chances to insta-kill will jump from 50% to 75%, which is a big jump. Mudo Boost is easy to get because 3 of the ingredients for Thanatos have them already, but Hama Boost isn't in there, so you have to do multiple fusions technique. For example, Fasuki fused with Forneus gets Loa, which then Loa became the ingredient for Thanatos. Loa innately had Mudo Boost as well, so you can inherit both of them from Loa with this technique. Then, we shouldn't forget to complement Ghastly Wail by getting Evil Smile as well as the source of fear element to then insta-kill enemies that are feared. As with the general build for Thanatos, there's not much sources of fear element in your party other than your main character, or Mitsuru with Fatal End that she will replace with better skills in the long run. So, you can inherit Evil Smile from Mod as an ingredient for fusing Thanatos, or from skill cards level 8 from Shuffle Time. Next, here are some additional flexible choices of skills that could contribute to this build quite well. First up is Ailment Boost. It's a passive skill that boosts the affliction rate of all ailments, so fear can be afflicted more often, which then enemies can be insta-killed more frequently with Ghastly Wail. However, if we're talking about fear, because fear is the only ailment that we care about in this build, you can instead get Fear Boost for a better multiplier chance than Ailment Boost. That being said, getting Ailment Boost is arguably easier because Ailment Boost can be obtained from skill cards level 5 from Shuffle Time, but not Fear Boost as it doesn't exist as a skill card. The best bet to get Fear Boost is to inherit it from Mokoi, fuse Mokoi with, for example, a Yatagarasu to get Loa, and use that Loa as the ingredient for fusing Thanatos. For Ailment Boost, other than skill cards, you can get it from Nidhogger, fuse with Inugami to become Loa, and use that Loa as the ingredient for fusing Thanatos. One more ailment-related skill, Stagnant Air is a good skill to open up enemies to ailments. That being said, you have to be careful with it because a single cast will affect all actors in the field, not just your enemies, that includes your party as well. In turn, for a good ailment affliction rate, there's a high chance to get afflicted by ailments yourself. To get Stagnant Air, it's either from skill cards level 3 from Shuffle Time, or inheritance from, for example, Incubus, fused with Anubis, becomes Samael, which then became the ingredient for Thanatos. Then, some of the skills that are mentioned before can still be great as a choice for this build as well. Enduring Soul as a great survivability skill, capped from Thanatos, Spellmaster as a great skill to cut down SP cost of skills, and Resist or Null Light for covering Thanatos' weakness to light. So here's an example of the final build of an insta-kill focused Thanatos. This build has Mahamaon, Mamudon, Hama Boost, Mudo Boost, Ghastly Wail with Evil Smile, Enduring Soul, and Fear Boost. Again, you can switch out any skill that you don't seem fit. And last but not least, the last iteration of Thanatos that I would like to talk about is kinda a far-fetched one, but it is a very viable build for boss fights, as this build primarily deals single target physical slash damage with Brave Blade. This is a physical damage only build focusing on Brave Blade as the main source of damage. Because Brave Blade is capped and this version of Thanatos will deal physical damage, Thanatos would primarily use HP to cast Brave Blade, so I would highly recommend keeping Enduring Soul from Thanatos and not replace it with anything else. Those are the only skills from Thanatos that are capped, Brave Blade and Enduring Soul. So what other skills should we get for this build of Thanatos? Paralleling Dark Amp for Maegon normally, we should get Slash Amp for Brave Blade because similarly to Dark Amp, it greatly amplifies the damage of Brave Blade by a significant amount. You can get Slash Amp from skill cards level Queen from Shuffle Time, or you can inherit them from Siegfried. For example, you can transfer Slash Amp from Siegfried by fusing with Orpheus to get Loa, which then Loa became the ingredient for fusing Thanatos inheriting Slash Amp. Next up is Single Target Boost. Similarly to multi-target boost, this is a great boost to single target skill damage, which applies to Brave Blade, further increasing the damage Brave Blade will deal on top of the Slash Amp. Single target boost is first encountered in Yamata no Orochi, so you can inherit single target boost from Yamata no Orochi, for example, to Loa first by fusing with Fortuna, and then use that Loa as an ingredient for Thanatos, or get it using skill card level 7 from Shuffle Time. Then, Arms Master is a great skill to cut off the HP cost of Brave Blade or any other skills that cost HP. This is more so to help you survive more, to prevent you from using up your HP recklessly. You can get it from Chiyo, fuse with Inugami to inherit Arms Race into Mod, and then Mod use as the ingredient for fusing Thanatos, or by getting skill cards level King from Shuffle Time. Charge is also a great skill to amplify Brave Blade's damage even further, multiplying by more than double the damage. Although, alternatively, you can instead get Bloody Charge, for an alternative that gives you more crit chance and that it costs HP, which synergizes well with Arms Master. That being said, Bloody Charge is significantly harder to get than Charge, so you can get one of these according to how much you want to go the lengths to get them. Charge can be obtained from skill cards level Queen from Shuffle Time, or from inheritance from, for example, Setanta fused with Pixie to Loa, and that Loa became the ingredient for Thanatos. Bloody Charge is harder because no skill cards of Bloody Charge exist, so you have to inherit that from, for example, Hellbiker fused with Fornius to Samael, and that Samael became the ingredient for Thanatos. From here on out, these are the remaining flexible choices that you can choose to get for the remaining slots, starting with Crit Rate Amp, Crit Rate Boost, or App Pupil. These three do pretty much the same thing, which is to increase the critical chance of your physical attacks. Just keep in mind that Crit Rate Amp and Boost does not stack with each other, so you can get the most Amp or Boost and then App Pupil. Crit Rate Boost can be inherited from Jikokuten, fused with Orpheus to Loa, which then became the ingredients for Thanatos, and then Crit Rate Amp can be inherited from Siegfried, fused with Ose to Mod, which then become the ingredients for Thanatos. If you want to use skill cards, App Pupil is from skill card level 6, Crit Rate Amp is from skill card level Queen, and Crit Rate Boost is from Elizabeth's Quest number 26. Next is a choice to get the highest tier of single target physical damage skill for each other affinities other than Slash, like God's Hand for Strike and Primal Force for Pierce. This choice is purely for coverage sake, as Persona 3 had 3 affinities of physical damage, just like Metaphor Fantasio. They won't be amplified by Slash Amp, but will be amplified by Single Target Boost and Charge. Just keep in mind that these skills will deal a little bit less damage than Brave Blade. Well, in theory. Sometimes this game can surprise you. Both God's Hand and Primal Force can be obtained from skill cards level Queen from Shuffle Time. And for the rest of the flexible skills are repeated from before. So, Shift Amp for higher damage after you shift your turn to DMC, which then amplifies the damage of Brave Blade. Then Resist or Null Light comes back as always, becoming an honorable mention to cover up Thanatos' weakness to light. Here is an example of a physical-based Thanatos, with Brave Blade being the main damaging skill, Charge or Bloody Charge, Slash Amp, Single Target Boost, Arms Master, Crit Rate Amp, App Pupil, and lastly, Enduring Soul for the extra survivability. And that's all of the builds that I made for Thanatos. I thought this was going to be quick since I felt that Thanatos is a pretty straightforward persona in general, but well, I underestimated how much I can get carried away with building stuff like this. And yeah, that's where the fun is in these types of games. Of course, even if I made multiple iterations of Thanatos, you might have different iterations as well. So if you wanted to share them, feel free to use the comment section down below for that. Anyway, thank you so very much for watching, and thank you to FiGGYZ for sponsoring this video once again. I'll see you guys next time.